What's going on, guys? It's Jimmy here. Welcome to our daily show where we discuss everything going on here in our country that you need to know about here on a daily basis, including money, investing, the stock market, the fourth stimulus package update, and stimulus check update, as well as Social Security, 401k, retirement. We cover it all here on our YouTube channel and especially here in this video. If you haven't subscribed to our YouTube channel yet, make sure to click the subscribe button down below. It's completely free to do so. And new videos come out here every day at 10 a.m., 3 p.m., and 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So subscribe so you don't miss out on new videos. And also, don't forget to hit the like button for us down below. It really helps out our channel. So we have multiple different things to talk about here in this video. Social Security and everybody underneath the Social Security umbrella, SSI, SSDI, VA, RRB, survivors, and everybody underneath the Social Security umbrella could be getting a couple different larger than expected raises here going forward, including a $2,400 per year raise and a much larger cost of living adjustment raise. I'll show you here. Social Security, a new bill could give seniors an extra $2,400 per year. And we'll go over this here in a moment. And Social Security cost of living bump could reach almost 11%, according to a new report, which would be, wow, I mean, unbelievably high. Last year's cost of living was 5.9% last year. So 11% or anywhere near that would be almost double. And that would be a lot. That would be a lot. So last year's 5.9% was the largest in it was like 30 some years. So imagine if we're anywhere near that, that is going to be a large raise for anybody who gets fixed income benefits from Social Security, SSI, SSDI, VA, RRB, survivors, anything like that from the government. There's going to be a huge raise coming from the government here this year because of how high inflation is. Now, what's interesting is what you got to think about here is inflation's high really right now. But typically, and we just kind of know this from the past, inflation doesn't last this high forever. Okay, and we know that the last time inflation was this high was 1981, which is actually when I was born. I'm 41 years old. Inflation didn't last this high forever. Okay, we know that inflation did not stay at 8.6% for 41 years. Thank God. But yeah, so what's interesting though is that if we get say a 8, 9, or I'll go over the data here of what they're talking about here, or even higher percent raise, whatever it ends up being, I'll keep you up to date here on this. You're going to get that every single year. So like that 5.9% we got last year, which actually seems kind of small here, but really large in the comparison to what the last several years were before that. You're going to get that every single year. It's grandfathered in, and now you get it permanently every single year going forward as well. Okay. And if an 8% or 9% or something even larger comes based on the inflation of this year, well, once inflation cools down, whether it's in 2023 or God forbid, help us 2024, it will go down at some point in the future. We know that inflation doesn't last forever. We've all kind of been through, inflation before. And when it goes down, normal inflation's around 2.5, somewhere maybe 2 to 3% here in the United States. But when it does go back down, you're still going to be getting that 8, 9, whatever percent inflation cost of living adjustment in there every single year. So I know it's really bad right now, and everybody's really struggling right now. In fact, 64 to 66% of Americans right now are struggling, living paycheck to paycheck, or actually behind on their bills and can't even pay their bills, just depending on where they are in that 64 to 66%. And It's the United States is about 50-50. So about 50% of Americans have money in the stock market or in their 401ks or retirement funds in the market, and then the other 50% actually have no retirement accounts, no extra money besides Social Security. So that's how important Social Security is, because, well, Social Security, when it originally was created, which actually does not go back that far, less than one lifetime ago, or maybe one lifetime ago. It goes back to the Great Depression, and right after the Great Depression is when they created it. I know it seems like a long time ago, but actually we have some viewers who were alive back then, or, or they remember their mom and dad saying, "Oh yeah, my mom and dad were alive back in the Great Depression," and they didn't have Social Security at all. It didn't even exist back then. Unemployment program didn't even exist back then. So if you lost your job from the Great Depression, literally the next day you had no income. So imagine, with this pandemic, and when, it was close to 40% of small businesses actually literally went out of business. Think about all the people who were unemployed when our country kind of shut down here this time around. Imagine if there was no unemployment bonuses or no unemployment at all. You literally lost your job, or your company went out of business, and the very next day there was no unemployment. You were just literally no money to pay your rent, no money for food, no nothing. And remember, 64 to 66% of Americans live paycheck to paycheck. So that's why the government created the unemployment programs, to help people get through that temporary time of need. And they created the Social Security program because even now today, about 50% of Americans retire and have no retirement savings at all. So they literally rely on Social Security. And this is one of, if not the main reason why we have a bunch of congressmen and congresswomen calling for raises to Social Security, like this $2,400 raise, which I'll show you here in a second. But you can see here the Social Security cost of living bump, or cost of living adjustment, also known as COLA, cost of living adjustment, COLA, could reach almost 11% this year, according to new reports. Check this out. Millions of U.S. seniors and others who receive Social Security benefits are on track for a big cost of living adjustment, known as COLA, in early 2023, to catch up for the fiercest inflation in 4 decades. One group now estimates that the boost could be as high as 10.8%, almost 11%. By comparison, a Social Security official earlier this month said he expects a COLA bump of about 8% based on current inflationary trends, which last month the inflation number was 8.6%, and it could be even higher. It actually says it right here. The cost of goods and services in May was 8.6%. Seniors could receive a COLA hike of 10.8% in early 2023, according to a new analysis from the Nonpartisan Committee for a Responsible Federal Budget. If inflation grinds to a halt over the final months of 2023, seniors could receive a COLA increase of as low as 7.3%, the group predicted. The latter scenario is considered unlikely because economists expect costs for food, gas, and housing to remain elevated throughout 2022. And this is probably especially likely because if I've been keeping you up with what's going on in the war with Ukraine and Russia. That shows no sign of stopping at all. And Putin is just full steam ahead. And we're seeing more and more signs of actually potential World War III breaking out, and other countries like NATO and Europe being drug into it even more and more so by the weeks go by, which we really don't want to see. But the problem here is that it just seems like the Ukraine, and even if that doesn't happen, Ukraine and Russia, that war is nowhere near being completed or even giving Putin an out to ending the war, and him actually finding a way to get out of it and save face. So the problem here is that at this point it looks like it's going to easily go till the end of the year, if not longer. Uh, and again, we're just kind of predicting here. Who knows what's going to happen tomorrow or the next day? But it doesn't look like it's going to end anytime soon, which is going to keep gas prices and food prices and a lot of things really, really high. Remember, gas prices and food prices are both at all-time highs in the US and around the world. I mean, gas prices have come down a few cents here in the US lately, a few cents, but relatively, we're still pretty much at all-time highs or really close to all-time highs. And food prices also in the US and around the world, all-time highs. And remember, gas prices actually in Europe are actually like $2 a gallon or even more than the US. Canada, more expensive than the US. A lot of places, a lot more than the US as well. If you equate their prices to US dollars and US gallons. So this is really kind of hitting everywhere, not just the US alone. So this data suggests that the Social Security cost of living increase for 2023 will likely fall somewhere between 7.3% and 10.8%. The Committee for a Responsible Federal Budget here said this week. So between 7.3% and 10.8% is the most likely scenario. The average monthly Social Security check is about $1,658. That's right from Social Security, because I've seen this number or numbers really close to that a lot, which means that the average bump, if it was 10.8%, would go up to $1,837. That's almost an increase of $200 if your average was 1658. It's pretty easy to calculate a 10% average. Just 10.8% is a little bit harder. You can get it on a calculator, but if you have a 10% average, you could just pretty much figure that out. An 8% average would bump the typical check to 1790. Of course, that everybody's checks are a little bit different, so it really depends on what your specific check are. Some people get higher, some people get lower, so it really would depend on this. But you can actually see here, cost of living adjustment actually exceeded 8% here multiple times back in the 80s and 1979. So this shows you that inflation has been worse in the past, actually significantly worse in the past. It was 9.9% in 1979. In 1980, it was 14.3% in 1980. And in 1981, it was 11.2%. And this just goes to show you that this type of stuff does happen. I mean, it's been 40 years, but I mean, for a lot of us, we're 40 years old or even 80 years old. So we remember these times, right? Or, maybe I don't because I was only 1 year old. But, a lot of people say, oh, yeah, I remember those times and they were bad. But we made it through. We made it through. But as you can see here, we're at 8.6% based on last month. 14.3% is almost twice as bad. That would be much, much worse. The silver lining is, like I mentioned before, is that when you get this increase, whether it's 7%, 8%, 9%, 10%, close to 11%, whatever it ends up being, I'll keep you up to date here on the channel, is that you get that increase forever. You get that increase in your benefits forever. So if it's a 10% increase, which would be the largest since 1981 or so, you're going to get that 10% monthly increase. It's built into your checks and that goes on forever. So even if inflation goes back down to the average, we average around 2 to 3%, that goes back down by, sometime in 2023 or so, sometime, here in the near future, 2024, 2023, somewhere around that, hopefully, you're still going to be getting that 10% increase even when inflation goes back down. Once they've locked it in, just like last year's 5.9%, we'll just say 6% here for everybody to think about a nice round number. You're still getting that 6% increase even when inflation goes back down. So once inflation goes back down, you'll be saying, okay, well, then it's not so bad, but we got to get to that point. We also have, as you can see here, Social Security, a new bill could give seniors an extra $2,400 a year. Social Security recipients could get an extra $2,400 per year in benefits, in addition to the cost of living adjustments, if a new bill recently introduced in Congress wins approval. And this is based on a bill largely sponsored by Senator Bernie Sanders, who is kind of leading the charge here for this. It says here Senator Bernie Sanders, Elizabeth Warren, and colleagues introduced legislation to expand Social Security by $2,400 per year and extend the solvency for 75 years for 75 years. So this would actually increase benefits by $2,400 a year and actually extend the solvency by 75 years. Senator Bernie Sanders actually said that they had the Social Security Administration do the math on this, just kind of like the Congressional Budget Office does the math on stuff for the White House for congressional bills. They had Social Security Administration do the math on this, and Social Security said it checks out. And the way that they would pay for these benefits would be to they want to basically reintroduce the Social Security taxes to people that make over it's like the $147,000 is where people stop paying taxes on their income for Social Security. Okay, so what they want to do is people that make like over $400,000 and people that make millions and millions of dollars, they want to make them repay into Social Security at a certain point. Now, they've thrown around a couple different numbers, but for example, they stop paying at around $147,000. Every year it changes a little bit because it goes up based on cost of living adjustments. But that's kind of the maximum that you can earn for that year as you pay into Social Security. So if you made $147,000 this year, you would only pay into Social Security taxes, your payroll taxes up until that amount. And then past that amount, whether you made 200,000 or 2 million or 200 million, you would still only pay Social Security payroll taxes up to 147-ish thousand dollars, okay? This new bill introduced would then, if passed, you would restart paying in at say 250,000 or 300,000 or $400,000 depending on what they pass it at. And you would pay those Social Security payroll taxes all the way up until however much money you make. Okay, you wouldn't get any extra Social Security benefits from it because it would just be an extra tax of a couple percent for high income earners. For people that make a ton of money, they would be paying into the system as a small extra tax of a couple percent. Okay. But Social Security did the math in this, and with all the people that make millions and millions and millions of dollars, and only pay. So, for example, people that make $100 million are only still paying that tax on $147,000, and the other 99.9 million is not taxed on Social Security taxes. If you change that, they would then pay the tax on the 99.9 million just for that one guy. See the difference there? How much money like just that one guy could bring in? And they did the math on this and said it could increase the solvency and increase the benefits for everybody else by 75 years. Okay. The thing is that you gotta actually do it. You gotta pass it. And how they would do it, they could do it through the reconciliation process where only Democrats could vote on it, but they'd have to do it before this year's elections, or they'd have to do it with Republicans, and the art of the compromise. So This is something that is making a lot of waves, a lot of news right now, because we know that Social Security is on its current track. Will run out of money sometime in the future, about 13 or 14 years in the future. It won't. Well, let me change it. It won't actually run out of money where it will run out down to zero, but it will not. It will only be able to pay 80% of its benefits. Okay, so it won't run to zero. It's not like there's no money left, but instead of paying 100% of benefits, it would run down to 80% of benefits. But by actually making a change like this, because remember that Social Security actually has trillions of dollars. It's almost $3 trillion in their kitty, in their fund right now. So they actually have a lot of money to work with, okay? And just by changing the trajectory, or just by changing the amount of payroll taxes that they take in, say, on wealthy individuals, they can actually increase benefits for everybody else and increase the solvency by 75 years. And the Social Security Administration actually did the math on this. So all these things are very possible. So let me know your thoughts here on this, and I will keep you up to date here on Congress and how they're getting support for this. There's actually a lot of support for this. There's over 200 congressmen, congresswomen, and senators that are in support of this. So they do have a lot of support of this and could pass this here. So let me know your thoughts. Make sure to subscribe down below to our YouTube channel. It's completely free to do so. This way you won't miss out on new videos. I'll keep you up to date here on stimulus checks. A lot of states are actually passing them right now on the state level, potentially on the federal level here, especially with the new elections coming up. I'll keep up to date with student loan forgiveness, Social Security raise, what's going on here in our country on a daily basis. I keep you up to date here with everything. So make sure to subscribe down below and then click the bell icon so you get notifications with new videos coming out here every day. You can click here to see Senator Bernie Sanders telling you more about this $2,400 raise on Social Security. Or you can click this video here to see my newest video on stimulus checks going out to multiple different states. So click on one of those videos next. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next video.